she said, 5 years and you still couldn't buy the kind of ring I asked for, posing perfectly for pictures. I calmly replied, fortunately, I don't have to worry about that anymore. As soon as she opened the velvet box I slid toward her, her confident grin disappeared. For 5 long years, I truly believed that my girlfriend Sophie and I were working toward the same goals. I imagined we were carefully building a future together, one step at a time, founded on loyalty and respect. Now I realize we were never working toward the same vision at all. I had been building a real home, while she was simply living in it and criticizing that it wasn't a palace. I'm an engineer, I think in blueprints, numbers, and long-term plans. I do not leap into reckless choices, especially regarding finances. When Sophie and I got serious, we made plans for the future, a home, financial security, and eventually marriage. She once showed me a picture of her dream ring. An insanely huge diamond from some luxury jeweler, with a price that could buy a brand new car. I didn't panic. I treated it like another project with a target. I started a separate account just for that purpose and slowly deposited money into it. But I wasn't only saving for a ring, I was investing in our future life. Every dollar saved for the ring fund was matched with another for a future house payment. My goal wasn't just to buy that ring, it was to give us a proper home someday. It demanded patience and consistency. For those 5 years, I kept the same old car, prepared my own food, and skipped guys' trips, all while covering the comfortable apartment we shared. Sophie, however, prefers the moment. Her life revolves around social posts, weekend brunches, and acting wealthy even when it's just appearances. She didn't see my financial restraint as love for our future, she saw it as me being miserly. Her tolerance had been shrinking for about a year. Her comments about getting engaged became more direct, and her remarks about my spending habits became sharper. The final straw came on our 5th anniversary. I organized a fancy dinner with our 2 favorite couples. It was meant to celebrate everything we had gotten through together. In my jacket was a small black velvet box. My plan was to propose a bit later, somewhere peaceful and meaningful. At last, I had achieved my goal. I'd saved up enough for a down payment on a modest house in a good neighborhood, and 2 weeks earlier, I had completed the payment on the exact 3-carat ring she had demanded. Everything was ready. I was prepared. The dinner began nicely. We shared a bottle of wine. There was laughter and nostalgia. Then her friend Emma gave her a teasing look. So, Sophie, she said loudly enough for everyone to hear, 5 years is a long time. Is Daniel ever going to give you that ring? Sophie let out this loud, dramatic laugh. She leaned in for a photo that another friend was snapping, making sure her pose was flawless. Then she looked right at me, with a sharp glint in her eye, and said the sentence that blew up our entire future. 5 years, and he still hasn't been able to buy the ring I wanted. Maybe by year 10, huh baby? The table froze. Her friends let out awkward giggles. My friend stared at me, stunned. That wasn't a joke. It was a public humiliation, a rejection of 5 years of my efforts, disguised as a playful comment for the camera. In that moment I realized, to her, this ring was never about our commitment. It was a display piece. A badge she needed to show her own status. And she was furious that I hadn't presented it sooner. The man I was 5 minutes before would have been stunned and embarrassed. He would have tried to explain. That man was already gone. The engineer part of my mind took over, evaluated everything, and saw one clear outcome. The entire project was terminated. I smiled back gently. A quiet smile that didn't reach my eyes. Fortunately, I said in a calm tone. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Her smile wavered. Everyone looked back and forth, trying to figure out what was happening. Before she could speak, I took out the small velvet box from my pocket. Her eyes immediately sparkled. She looked thrilled, probably thinking I was about to propose in front of everyone, ready to prove her wrong publicly and hand her that victory she craved. I didn't kneel. I simply looked her in the eye, and slid the box across the table. Happy anniversary, Sophie, I said. She opened that little box with shaky, excited hands. And just like that, her proud expression vanished, turning to pure shock and horror. Because inside, there wasn't a 3-carat diamond. There was no ring at all. Just a small, carefully folded piece of paper. She slowly unfolded it. I didn't need to see her reaction to know what she looked like in that moment. I had already stood up, pushed in my chair, and started walking toward the exit. That paper contained my final words in that 5-year-long plan. And I wasn't sitting at that table anymore. The short walk from that restaurant to my car felt like the first steps of a man finally released. My phone started vibrating before I even turned the key in the ignition. Instead of answering, I just tossed it on the passenger seat and kept driving. I didn't go back to the apartment. I drove straight to my office, that cold, quiet space where I could think clearly. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. When I finally checked it, there were dozens of missed calls from Sophie and her friends. Text messages kept pouring in, each one more panicked than the last. What was that? What was in that box? Daniel, this isn't funny. Come back. You completely ruined my night. How could you be this heartless? I didn't bother responding. I opened my laptop instead and began dismantling the life I had structured around her. For anyone wondering what was in that box, it wasn't a letter. It was a receipt. A clean, organized document I had typed and printed at the office earlier, just before heading to pick up her ring. Something inside me sensed that the night might go sideways, so I prepared a backup plan. The document was titled, Subject, 5-Year Relationship Review. Financial Summary. Item 1, Down payment for your company car, 2022 model, $5,000. Item 2, Your share of the Italy vacation, summer 2023, $3,850. Item 3, Your entire credit card debt cleared, winter 2024, $7,200. Item 4, Various luxury bags and shoes purchased in the last 2 years, around $8,500. Item 5, Contributions to your girls' trips, Miami, Vegas, $2,500. Total personal lifestyle contributions, 2021 to 2025, $27,150. And written at the bottom in a single line, price of the ring you demanded, $26,500. Thank you for showing me I'd already made the investment. The return just wasn't worth it. That was all, no anger, just the raw data. The numbers told a story she couldn't spin. Everything she accused me of withholding was already spent on her. That night I came home to an empty apartment, clearly she'd gone to a friend's place. The first thing I did was replace the locks. By morning, I was standing at the bank right when it opened. I emptied our shared savings account, the one meant for the house, and transferred it into a new personal account. I canceled her secondary credit card too. She showed up around noon, eyes red and face pale. She tried her old key, but it didn't work. She started banging on the door. I waited a bit before I opened it. You've got 5 minutes to explain yourself, she snapped, shaking with anger. I won't need 5 minutes, I said, leaning against the doorframe. That document said it all. We're finished, Sophie. Are you breaking up with me? Over one joke after 5 years? Yes, I said. Because that wasn't a joke. It was an invoice. You handed me a bill for your attention, and I've decided it costs too much. To you, I'm just a walking wallet. Too bad for you, that wallet is now closed. She tried to speak again. But, my stuff, the car, the apartment, she stuttered. This apartment is mine, Sophie. The lease is under my name. And the car is also registered to me. You'll need to make other plans. You've got 1 week to move your belongings out of my place. Her fury collapsed into panic. But I can't afford the car. I can't afford rent somewhere else. That sounds like a budgeting problem, I said. Try making a spreadsheet, I found them very useful. Then I shut the door in her stunned face. The week that followed became a tug-of-war. She tried everything, sent friends to talk to me, had her mother call to guilt-trip me. Her mom said I was shattering her daughter's heart. I politely told her that Sophie's heart seemed to be located somewhere in a jeweler's display, and I was no longer financing it. During that week, I finally did something I had delayed for months. I opened the safe in my closet and took out the real ring. It was exactly what she had demanded, 3 carats, perfect clarity, set in a clean platinum band. It should have been stunning, yet it felt cursed in my hand. It was a symbol of deception. I had held up my part of the deal, but she had failed hers. She failed to be a true partner. By the end of the week, Sophie still hadn't packed a single box. She assumed I was bluffing. On the final day, I hired a moving company to professionally collect everything that belonged to her. They delivered each item to her parents' house, where I knew she would eventually end up. That night, the apartment felt empty but peaceful. It was quiet for the first time in years. I sat on the sofa, the engagement ring resting on the coffee table. What I felt wasn't heartbreak for her, it was mourning for 5 years wasted on a project that was doomed from the beginning. Alongside that grief was relief. I was free from a ring I no longer wanted to give and a woman I no longer admired. The project had ended. And all the resources were mine again. Final update: 6 months have passed since that anniversary dinner. Moving on felt like getting an old building, you tear out everything rotten before you rebuild. Sophie's life, I've heard, also went through demolition. After I calmly showed her parents the financial breakdown, they didn't defend her the way she expected. They let her stay, but told her she'd need to earn her own way. Her so-called real estate career had always been a lifestyle I had financed. Without the luxury car or designer wardrobe, she struggled to attract high-end clients. Eventually she sold the car just to clear her debts. Last I heard, she was working as a hostess, at the same restaurant where our relationship ended. Those friends who laughed at her joke? They slowly vanished. Turns out their loyalty was tied to my credit card. But the most meaningful moment was what I did with the ring. I couldn't bring myself to sell it, making money off a failure felt wrong. I went back to the elderly jeweler who crafted it. I told him everything. He listened quietly, like someone who had heard that story 100 times. I asked if he could repurpose it. He carefully removed the large diamond. Then he melted the platinum and shaped it into a simple, minimalist money clip. It was symbolic, the metal that once represented obligation now held my own earnings, under my control. As for the diamond, I had it placed in an elegant necklace. Not for a girlfriend. For my sister, for her 40th birthday. I gave it to her as a gift. She had supported me through all of it, and I wanted her to have something pure, no strings attached. With my life finally mine, I made a huge change. I used the saved house money to invest in myself. I left my safe but uninspiring engineering job and launched my own consulting company, focused on a specialized area I truly enjoyed. It was risky, and for the first time I wasn't afraid. 2 months ago, my firm landed its first major client. To celebrate, I went to a quiet little restaurant alone. That's where I met Kate. She was my server that night, a single mom working 2 jobs while studying nursing. She was smart, kind, and resilient in a way that immediately drew me in. We ended up talking for hours. She didn't care about my job title or my income. She respected that I had the courage to rebuild my life. We've been together ever since. This relationship is different. It's based on mutual respect and shared effort, not finances. We split meals, cook together, talk about our future, and it finally feels like a shared plan, not a list of demands. Something unexpected happened last week. Kate and I attended a local charity event, casual, outdoors. I spotted Sophie there. She wasn't working. She was with an older man, easily 30 years her senior, wearing a watch worth more than my first car. She looked unhappy, the same posed, empty smile I saw at that anniversary dinner. She noticed me. Her eyes moved to Kate, then to my wrist, maybe searching for an expensive watch. Finally, her gaze landed on something in my hand. I was paying for drinks, and I pulled out the platinum money clip. That simple piece of metal caught her eye immediately. I saw the instant she realized what it was. The color drained from her face. She knew exactly what it used to be, the ring she thought would define her status, now reduced to a tool for holding my own money, used casually for beers at a fundraiser. It was the perfect reversal. Everything she chased, the metal, the symbol, the power, had been transformed into something practical, ordinary, and fully mine. She turned away, dragging her wealthy date with her. I looked over at Kate, who was laughing with her nursing school friends. I walked over and handed her a drink. She smiled, a real smile. One that reached her eyes. And in that moment, surrounded by music and good people, I realized I was richer than ever before. I had finally found something truly valuable. And it had absolutely nothing to do with a ring.